Hi guys, welcome to this video. This video is going to be a carrier deck landing visual pattern in Dino Cattaneo's F-14. Glorious aircraft. It is freeware. I've done a video reviewing it, so I urge you, if you haven't watched that, to have a look at that as well. Carrier deck landings. Before we do that, however, I'm going to just mention a couple of things. The first thing is how glorious the water and scenery looks in P3D. The second thing is, if you look at the HUD, the carrier is here. But because of the dirt effect on the HUD, it's very difficult to see. Okay, carrier deck landings are all about meeting gates and criteria. So, in effect, what you have to do is meet each set of criteria before you progress on to the next. Otherwise, all you're going to do is make it harder for yourself. Now, the first set of criteria as we approach from astern at 10 miles is that we need our our arrestor hook down, which it is. First set of criteria is to go over the top of the aircraft carrier in the direction of travel of the aircraft carrier at 800 feet, between 300 and 350 knots. Speed control and altitude control is critical in this. Now, this is a big heavy aircraft. It accelerates very quickly with the throttle that's available to it, and in terms of response to the controls, it's got good response, but it's got a lot of momentum, this thing. So it is a challenge to fly. In fact, I'd argue that it's probably one of the most demanding things you can do in the flight sim world. And I don't make that assertion lightly. I have stuffed into the back of this aircraft carrier more times than I care to mention. Now I can carry out approximately, I would say, probably 1 in 2 landings adequately. When I started, I was carrying out about 1 in 30 landings adequately. Such is the difficulty of this. Now, as I say, 800 feet, between 300 and 350 knots over the stern of, over the top of the carrier. So there's our 800 feet. It's going to go up to 810 with between 300 and 350 knots. Just watching that we don't go too low and that we don't change our altitude by too great a margin. Trim is everything in this. Now, you wait for about 15, 17, 19 seconds depending on the separation you want from the aircraft ahead of you before you turn in to your downwind leg, and it all gets very quick now. There's a reason I haven't gone through the pattern up till now. So 45 to 6 degrees angle of bank turn, close the throttle, speed brakes fully out, looking for the next speed to be 225, which is the gear and flap limiting speed. Trying to maintain a level turn with 30 feet too high, and that's the margins you're looking for, is a matter of feet. So coming down to 225, gear down, full flaps, get rid of the speed brake or our speed bleeds away too much. We're still just about level in our turn. As you load up the wing coming around the turn, you bleed speed very quickly. So I'm going to start advancing the throttle to arrest the rate of descent of the speed. Looking for a heading of 260. You can now see the angle of attack index on the left is live, 20 feet too low. Watching the speed, it's coming down quite rapidly now. Got to play with the throttles, tickle the throttles, don't hammer them around, otherwise what happens is the aircraft will respond in a very, very dramatic fashion. It accelerates very easily, this thing. Now we're descending to 600 feet, carrier's over there somewhere. There's a DLC switch down here which you flick. It links the angle of attack indexer to the throttle. It is not an autopilot. Looking for 600 feet. Bit too much of a yank there, Richard. We don't like that. Our RIO in the back would be rather peeved with that. However, now we're looking to maintain downwind at 600 feet. This is the point where we do our checks, watch our speed, it's creeping up too much. We're looking to be 1.1, 1.2 miles abeam the ship. We're 10 feet too high. Watch the speed, tickle the speed back. Every time you tickle the speed back, you've got to watch your rate of descent and your trim with this aircraft. Trim is everything. We're nearly coming abeam the aircraft carrier. What we're looking for is being abeam. We're 40 feet too low and we're too slow, so let's add a modicum of throttle. You don't need to add massive handfuls. You see how quickly that speed climbs. Okay, we're 50 feet too low, and now we can turn in. We're looking for our angle of attack to maintain between 140, 145 knots. 90 degrees around the turn, we need to be at 450 feet. So we need a gradual rate of descent. Watching the speed, we're down to 139. Tickle the throttles up again. Quick check on where the carrier is. Carrier's looking nice. 143 knots. We need to tickle throttles back again. Need a gentle rate of descent. We're looking to come round to a heading of approximately 075. We're just coming around. That's 40 feet high coming around the turn. Speed's good, carrier position's good, angle of attack index is good. Just nudge the throttles up a little bit. Obviously as you turn you bleed speed. This is a big heavy bird, it bleeds speed very easily. Angle of attack index, or if anything's a little bit too low in terms of angle of attack. We've just bust through the centre line slightly, so we're going to bring it back round. Angle of attack is good, 145, we've got an orange donut. Quick check down, we've got 3 greens hooked down. So watching the speed is critical now, as is the total velocity vector. You can see it just above the carrier at the moment, looking for the meatball, which is the lights on the left hand side. Gives you an indication whether you're high or low. Speed is looking good, angle of attack index is looking good. Now one of the things I've noticed is the collision detection on this was slightly off centre line, trying to correct. The collision detection, if you have the nose too high, what happens is the ventral fins strike the carrier. And there we go. One successful landing. Let's get rid of the hook. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's get rid of the hook now. Mispressed the button there, so never mind. Shift Q, got the brakes held on. What we're going to do is just going to do a carrier deck takeoff, and you'll see what happens with that. Just watching the trim now, because we had it trimmed significantly back because of the low speed and the deck landing there. Wasn't my greatest deck landing, but it's good enough for government work. Now, for a carrier deck takeoff, you have to be in line with this track. If you're not in line with this track, you're going to bend your aircraft. I don't think it does it in the sim, but certainly in reality, it's probably the most single important aspect of it. So we're not in line with it there. You might as well try and do it properly. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing, is to try and enjoy it and try and replicate real life. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a simulator, it would be called a game. Okay, now one of the things you've got to be aware of is that as you line up, you can't really go too far with this, because you're looking to engage with the shuttle, that little grey bit down there. Now we're not too bad there. Just get ourselves a bit to the right. Helps to look outside at this point. You can see we're just about starting to line up on the track. Okay, so let's stick the launch bar down. One of the things you've got to be careful of now is when you stick the launch bar down, you get a very limited turn circle in terms of the wheels. It assumes you're going pretty much within 5 degrees of dead ahead. So we get to there, we engage the shuttle, and that's ready for a carrier launch. Just got to be careful because we had the flaps down for our landing. We do not want that. We'll do a quick control check. Looks all right. You can see with the wind over the carrier deck, it does move the aircraft on its suspension, so we'll just keep those central. Back into the cockpit, and now we're ready for our launch. Get our power on. Make sure the tie-back bar isn't going to throw us off the deck too much, and away we go. See the nose squats down nicely. Gear up, make sure the flaps are up, and we're away. And that, guys, is a carrier deck landing followed by a takeoff, and I can't begin to tell you just how much practice that has taken me. But if you want a challenge, that's certainly a thing that you can do for a challenge. And this thing is just glorious to fly. Thank you very much, Dino, for what is a fantastic aircraft. Very much a challenge, very enjoyable to fly. There's our aircraft carrier down there, look. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, found something of benefit. It's not the best carrier deck landing in the world, but then I'm not the best carrier pilot in the world. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I shall speak to you soon. Take care.